Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good night out there. So, what are we doing tonight? Well, we're gonna run it back and do a round 2 of the Waves Magma BB tubes versus 7 other tube-based saturation and distortion plugins. Although it's technically 8. So, round 2 plus 1. The reason we're running it back is because there was so many great suggestions in the comments in the round 1 comparison that they just had to do a round 2. There's so many great plugins that I didn't try and that I haven't tried. Got hip to some really cool plugins, so we're gonna run around 2. Why not? It's fun. It's nerdy. It's fun. And yeah, I just want to thank everybody for the comments on the round 1 video. Lots of great comments, lots of great suggestions, and some good feedback and improvements here for the round 2 comparison. So that's awesome. The comparison is totally subjective. We're working to my tastes and we're working to my criteria. And the criteria is that it had to be a tube-based saturation and distortion plugin. It had to be something that was capable of not only doing gentle saturation, but also being able to be pushed into distortion. So that was a requirement of the plugin to get in here. And some of the suggestions I got lots of great suggestions for plugins. Some of them not tube-based though. So if the plugin didn't show up here in this comparison, I apologize, but I appreciate the comments. So yeah, it had to be tube-based and had to be able to saturate and distort. And we're not going to lean on any EQ or filtering on these plugins. I'm mostly interested in hearing the saturation, the quality of the saturation, and the quality of the distortion. I know that might be putting some of the plugins here at a disadvantage as far as what they're capable of doing, or maybe where they would really excel. But I'm mostly interested in hearing the quality of the saturation and in hearing the quality of the distortion. That's mostly what I'm interested in. So that's why we're not going to lean on any EQs or filtering. And yeah, we're comparing to the BB. The BB is going to be our A in the comparison. This is going to be our A, and every other plugin is going to be B. And the reason for that is, well, that's how I did round 1. And the reason for that is I've had a week and a bit with this plugin now, and I've used it in all 3 phases. I've used it in production, I've used it in mixing, and I have used it in mastering. And I'm still really impressed with this thing. Still really blown away with the sonic quality of it. I think Waves has done a phenomenal job with this plugin. And so it's going to be our A, and then everything else is going to be our B. So we'll do a head-to-head on all of these, and then we will run through them all. Just like I did in the first comparison, I'll run through them all as well so we can hear them back to back to back. And what else can I tell you? We're going to be working to the max oversample on every plugin that has oversampling available to us. So on the Magma, it's 8 times. On the AA here, it's 16 times. And then any other plugin, I think the P42, the Distort Tube from Arturia, and the Kelvin from Tone Projects, they all had oversampling options as well. So we're working to the max oversampling on these plugins. So we're set to the highest quality. The track we're working to is the same track that we're working to from comparison 1, Air Intake by Darren Frank. And I'm using the settings. We're using the same settings from the BB on round 1, both in the gentle and in the overdrive mode. So what plugins made the list here? Well, we've got the Waves BB, obviously, but I've got 2 versions this time because we're going to go with and without the transformer. And I mean, this plugin comes in loaded up with the transformer on. It's its default state. Yeah, the transformer is definitely adding a lot of heft, and it's adding a lot of beef. And just out of my curiosity, I did plug it into Plugin Doctor after a couple of days, and yeah, you can see it's definitely adding some heft and some low-end weights. We're at about what's that, a dB in a bit, maybe a dB at around 50 hertz, 60 hertz, and we've got a bit of a dip around 2K. This is with the transformer, and then the other line, the straighter line there is without the transformer. So I've included a version with and without the transformer. So our first comparison is going to be BB versus BB. Is what we're going to do with and without transformer. And then yeah, the Diamond Dynamic Saturator, and this was in the first comparison, and an oversight on my part. I was using it in the dynamic mode and not in the static mode, which will be a more apples to apples comparison here in this comparison. So we're going to run it back with the Diamond Dynamic Saturator, and we're using it in static mode this time. And then, yeah, we get into some of the suggested ones. This P42 Climax, which I've been checking out all day. This thing sounds great. And great workflow. I had a lot of fun playing around with this afternoon. And great manual. Oh, love the manual on this thing. Great section on oversampling, actually, in the manual. But yeah, we're going to have the P42 Climax, which is from Pulsar. And then, yeah, we're having the Kelvin from Tone Shaper. This is also another suggested one. And we are going to run into some, this is on a trial version. Their trial version has a 30 or 60 seconds fade out. And it doesn't save settings, which is a bit annoying. I wish they would just give me a full version. There's lots of options on this one. We'll go through that when I get there. But the Neold's Big Al, which is Planeworks or Plugin Alliance and Neold. And we're using this, I'm using this at a user suggested setting with the voltage sag in. This thing came out, what, a year, 2 years ago? Good sounding plugin. And then, yeah, we have the Phil's Cascade, which almost made the round one comparison, actually. This thing lived on my mix bus for a little while and is a great sounding plugin. So yeah, we have the Phil's Cascade from Eylsia and Plugin Alliance, which is also the same company, I believe, as Neold, or one of the same people. Anyways, another OBG from Sound Toys, the Radiator. The Altec Lansing preamp, mixer amp. This is actually a unit where I have had the opportunity to play around with the hardware quite a bit, and phenomenal sounding piece of hardware and a phenomenal sounding plugin. So this is on the list. We've got the Harmonics analog saturating processor from Softube on the list, and we're using that in the modern mode. And the modern mode is pretty sure it's the Culture Vulture triode. So we're going to be using that, and we're using the Arturia Distortion Tube-Culture, which is a Culture Vulture emulation, obviously. And again, we're using a user suggested setup as far as where the starting point is. And this one fooled me for a minute. There's a bug in the off switch on the presence and air. And even when I had it in the off setting, it was still super bright. So I was just like, ooh, this thing's a bit aggressive. But thankfully I discovered that's a bug. So we'll probably hear it though, because it seems to happen when it's reloading. That's our plugin lineup. And this one I'm not going to go through and work up all the settings in real time. This is actually an offline video for me, which is a first. The reason for it is just a lot of work to get this many plugins set up and work through them. And I figured for the sake of brevity, people would just be more interested in hearing them one-to-one and not necessarily going through me working through the plugins. But I will give my thoughts on how I found that while I was setting it up while we're doing the comparison. So yeah, that's going to be our comparison. And then one other great thing that came out of all the comments and the feedback and constructive notes that I got from people is we're going to be using this Gain Match plugin, which I've used auto levelers before, but not anything with this send and receive setup, which is great. There was also one more that was recommended to me that was also great. TB Pro Audio, this thing, also a great plugin. I highly recommend checking them both out. This is Let I Mix Gain Match, and this is the ABL M2 loudness match from TB Pro Audio. Both really, really great. Send and receive. We're not going to be having gain matching rants from me during this comparison, so maybe that's too bad. But yeah, this was a great suggestion, and it definitely gets us more apples to apples comparison in the gain world. And with a plugin that exists like this, and that it seems to be not impossible to do, it just makes me wonder why plugin developers don't put it in every plugin that they put out. But yeah, so we're going to use the Gain Match plugin on everything. I've already gone through and worked through the settings. We're going to start on our gentle, and then we're going to work over to our more overdriven. That's what we're going to get up to. Everything all the time. So we're working to the same track. Darren Frank, air intake. It's not fully mixed. It's kind of living partially mixed out of production, and I left it pretty dynamic. And again, the reason I left it dynamic is because I want to be able to hear what some of these saturation and distortion units are doing to the transients and to the soft limiting, compression, hard limiting, clipping, whatever we get into. So it is left pretty wide open. And the track is mixed to -18 dBFS equals 0 BU. So that's where we're living. That's what most plugins like to be fed. So that's where we're gonna go. Running through an open field, Everything's clearly labeled here on the bottom, so you can do it. And I figured out how to get myself out of the way in my video camera here, so we'll be able to see both plugins at the same time. So on our left here, we have our settings for the BB tubes. That was the gentle settings that was in round 1. And then these are the settings I've worked up for the no transformer mode. So transformer is out, and I switched to the B setting on the tube. Just felt a little less hyped to me. Here we go.
Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan.
So lots of nice heft.
But I don't really know
And I just wish I understood what was going on with the clarity. There's just a dimension and a clarity to this plugin that I'm still trying to find great words for.
running out through my cold veins.
So we're on the transformer.
It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything.
No transformer.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake,
So both sound really good to me.
open up your rib
I really think so much of what I like about this plugin is tied to how it's soft limiting and kind of compressing the transients. It pushes really nice against things,
keep breathing.
but it's also just so clear. I don't feel any smearing
Through an open field,
in the plugin, and it feels really 3D to me. And there was a great comment from somebody on the channel about how it just feels like the sound stage of this thing gets bigger when you're using it, and I think that's really true.
everything all the time.
Back to the transformer.
Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
So no transformer in, but when I switch to the A here,
Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
just a little brighter, a little more up top.
Anyone,
But on the A compared to the transformer,
it's better than anything.
I just kind of feel like it thins out a little bit too much.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present.
We're gonna go back to type B.
Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake,
But
open up your ribcage.
this still feels really great without the transformer in it. Let's go back to our flat.
Heartbeats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid.
This tightens up really nicely.
Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how
Smooths kind of any harshness out in the track. Not that there's a ton in this track, but and obviously with the transformer, we're just getting so much weight. And I think that's what really helps create some of the excitement in this thing. So yeah, the diamond, which I've seen that Acustica has released a light version of this plugin, which is great. Just a saturation-based version of this, so that's awesome.
it's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake,
So we're back on the PB.
open up your ribcage. Hey, see the way your heart beats.
to the diamond.
Keep breathing.
And I love Acustica saturation. This sounds really good to me. When I was setting it up, I really prefer this saturation tube knob kind of overall, even in when we get into distorted settings over the saturation one. The saturation one gets a little weird in my opinion. But the saturation tube knob too sounds great. And I feel like the center image here just gets a little bit more focused on the diamonds. The BB, we get the whole image just kind of comes up.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains running out through my cold veins.
And yeah, same thing that I said in the round one comparison. And I say this about all Acustica plugins. It's just a bit of a smearing. I feel like there's something between me and the plugin, me and the audio when I have this in there. What Acustica does make me think of all the time with their saturation too is it just makes me feel like I'm running through a bunch of transformers and wire and resistors. It's just like almost like a slew rate that I'm hitting with their plugins. The transients slow down in a really nice way. They're still really there, but they're a little more tame and a little slower.
See the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little
No transformer BB.
open in the present. Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down.
And the diamonds. Diamond sounds really nice to me. It does feel like the vocal pops up a little bit more.
Everything all the time.
Tightens up a little bit. We're obviously not getting all that heft that we're getting off the BB.
But I don't really know why.
Just tightens and punches up the audio a little bit.
Running out through my cold veins.
But yeah, just the clarity and the dimension in this BB. It's the difference for me.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, open in the present. Hey, I got a new thing.
And we're definitely living a lot closer with the transformerless BB and the diamonds.
Open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats.
But I really like the dynamics even in the transformerless BB.
Keep breathing.
And I like, again, how it's soft limiting and hitting those transients. It feels really good to me.
Everything all the time.
You see this here?
Everything all the time.
Oh, it's as small as it goes.
I'm working on a new
Oh yeah, we can see it all. Okay.
but I don't really know why.
So we're on the BB.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
P42.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, open in the present. Hey, I got
What
a
transformer?
thing, don't know how to put it down. Every intake, open up your ribcage.
So in messing around with this P42, I preferred the input stage saturation as opposed to the output stage saturation in this comparison, and the reason for that is I just feel like it's got a lot more density to it. The output felt really smooth and kind of creamy, accentuated the top end a little bit more, and I think just to get into more of where the BB is living, I wanted some of that density.
Everything all the time. Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
Firms up in a nice way.
Clean cuts but the blood stains.
Again here, I'm not getting the dimension that I'm getting off the BB. It is firming up in a nice way though. And it is got some of that meat.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid.
It's not as smeary as the diamond to me, but there's just like a layer of something between. It's like recording to tape, like when you recorded the tape and playback tape, but there's sometimes it feels like there's something between you and the audio, and I kind of feel that way about this compared to the BB. I'm not sure if that's making any sense, but
Keep breathing.
there's a fidelity to the BB that's is really impressive to me. This is on the output.
Everything all the time. Everything all the time.
Yeah, on the input there's just a little more weight. I do like how it's hitting the transients though.
Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
A+ manual. Lots of great tips, tricks, insights.
It's better than
Love it. I'm gonna be checking out more stuff from this company for sure.
running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present.
The BB just has life.
Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake, open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats.
Pulsar is really, really pleasing though.
Keep breathing.
Okay, let's keep going.
Everything all the
So,
time.
lots of options on this Tone Project's Kelvin. We have 4 tube options, and the GE32 and the HIG 2 were the two that seemed to feel the best to me while I was setting this up. I imagine there's going to be some opinions on that and which ones I should have tried and which ones I should have used. And I apologize if I missed your favorite one. But these two sounded really good to me, and I'm using them in serial mode. So we are working in series.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down.
BB.
Air intake, open up your rib cage.
And that's because we're in trial mode. That's why that's happening.
The way your heart beats.
I wish that wasn't the case. I wish they would just let me use it.
Keep breathing.
So what I felt with while I was setting up the Kelvin is I was really struggling to get that density and that weight. out of this thing, and that's why I leaned on this GE32. It's got the low mid warmth and rich diode distortion. It just felt like it gave me the weight and the density that I was looking for. This one does seem to thin out pretty good to me.
I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts, but
Like if you just listen to the snare and the Kelvin,
running out through my cold veins.
and we're gonna go to the transformerless BB. This is the way more density on that snare.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it.
Full BB with the transformer.
Air intake, open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats. Keep breathing.
There's a really nice air to this plugin.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present.
But you get so much movement and dynamics with this BB. This again just feels a little thinner, a little flatter to me. And again, we could probably get some of that weight back in with
Everything all the time.
the pre and post shaping. This plugin's lots of fun though. And zooming around on it, it was great. Lots of options and lots of great modes, and workflow is great.
Running through an open field.
Okay, let's move on. So yeah, the big owl from Neold, which is part of the Plugin Alliance package, and yeah, I haven't spent much time on this plugin. So I started with a suggested starting point from somebody on the channel, which I'm really grateful for. So we've got the voltage sag on. And yeah, what is the voltage sag doing for us? Well, the voltage sag jumper pulls the screen grid off the AL4 pento towards ground potential through an additional capacitor. This shifts the operating point of the AL4 driver, causing asymmetric clipping. This drastically raises generation of even order harmonics, which adds a subtle rasping quality to Big Al's saturation characteristics, especially when the signal starts to break up. And yeah, definitely as you push it on there, I actually took the sag off for the distortion component. But in this kind of warming up or gentle saturation, I found that it really added a nice density to it.
Everything all the time. Everything all the time.
Neold.
Working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts, but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
So this, I couldn't really push it much further without getting into some breakup.
Running through an open
This is a little more dynamic, not really working the transients that hard.
feeling like a little kid.
You can hear that rasp kind of coming in there.
Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake,
Feels like it slows the transients down a little bit though.
open up your rib cage.
Definitely get some warmth.
Hey,
It's a bit creamy.
see the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming
modern sounding. Definitely has a bit of like a vintage vibe to it, for sure. Neold, and I get that kind of, I feel like the center pops up again here on this one. Nice 8 vocal comes out. Again, it's just the dimension on the BB that I really like. There's something kind of nice and I want to feel there's something, I want to say there's like something nice and kind of chesty around this Neold, like maybe something in the 800 or 1K range, somewhere in there, maybe 600, something in that, like really subtle. Just feels like things come forward a little bit. Just got a little bit more of that information here. Feels great. But I wish it was hitting the transients a little bit harder. I wish we could push into it a little bit more before it started to break up. So we're back on the BB. So we got the Phil's Cascade here from Eylsia. It's a great sounding plugin. Yeah, I think it lived on my mix bus for about like 5 or 6 months when it first came out. I really loved it.
But I don't really know why. Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
Back to the BB. Phil. Phil sounds nice. It's got a lot of that weight, density.
Open up your rib cage. Hey. See the way your heart beats.
And it has some of that dimension. I like how it's hitting the transients a little, it's not as firm, it's a little softer on the transients. But we're getting a little bit of that bounce. Transformerless.
Everything all the time. Working on a new plan.
Phil's definitely got some weight. Phil's got some heft.
Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
Just lacks the clarity. That bottom end is nice, but it's not as clean as this bottom end is.
It's better than anything.
Really nice though through the upper mids and stuff. We get a little bit more brightness.
Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
Phil's definitely hanging in there. Magma versus the Radiator. Another plugin that lived on my mix bus or my drum bus for a very long time.
I'm working on a new plan.
And we're set to clean and line here.
Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
to the BB.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing.
Radiator.
Don't wanna put it down. Air intake. Open up your rib cage. Hey.
BB no
See
transformer.
the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field,
Radiator.
swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening a present.
The Radiator sounds really nice.
Got a new thing, don't know how to put it down.
Radiator sounds really nice. I really like what it's doing to the transients.
Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
Yeah, it's really firm. I really like how it's handling the transients. We get tightens up, obviously. A little more presence on the Radiator.
It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything.
But it's got really nice firmness.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
I really like the top end on this Radiator too. Kind of that 8K, 10K range.
See the way your heart beats.
Its presence.
Keep breathing.
But not harsh or anything like that. I mean, none of these plugins have been harsh, which is great.
Swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down.
Yeah, the BB no transformer feels a little weak here to me in comparison to the Radiator.
Everything all the time,
This has got like
working
a
on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts but the blood stains, it's running out through my cold veins.
and the dynamics are just exciting in the Radiator as well. A little firmer, a little tighter. But yeah, Radiator feels really good to me. So Magma versus Harmonics from Softube, and this is honestly a plugin I forget that I have,
Everything all the time,
and I've recalled enjoying it when I do use it.
working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
Harmonics.
Cuts but the blood stains, it's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
BB.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid.
Harmonics seems to have like a little bit of a shimmer to it. Top ends
Got a new thing, don't know how to put it down.
really articulated on this plugin.
Open up your rib cage. Hey. See the way your heart beats. Keep breathing.
And I did find it hard to get the density out of this one. The dynamic control is really cool on this, and I kind of feel like that's somewhat like a headroom knob. I know they're messing with the dynamics, and we've got separate headroom here, but
Don't know how to put it down.
This one just seems to have like a bit more of a polish to it. The harmonics seems to be a little more polished sounding. And I did feel it was really hard to get that kind of girth out of it and heft out of it.
But I don't really know why. Clean cuts but the blood stains it's running out through my cold veins.
Yeah, it just kind of thins out a little bit too much for me.
It's better than anything.
That's a little warmer.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down.
There's a real clarity to this harmonics though.
Open up your ribcage, hey,
Which, out of the ones we've tried so far, is kind of the only thing that feels like it's coming close
keep breathing.
to the clarity of the BB, but I just feel like we're not getting the...
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down.
Okay, maybe I just didn't push it hard enough.
Everything all the time. Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan.
Okay,
I don't really know
so maybe I
why.
just didn't push it hard enough originally. This is feeling better to me.
Clean cuts but the blood stains it's running out through my cold veins.
And we've lost some of that pristine kind of shimmer or sheen that it has.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake,
Still just a little bit too thin for me though.
open up your ribcage.
But that dynamic control is cool. Okay, so yeah, the Distort Tube from Arturia, which is a Culture emulation. And we're on the Pentode 1, and then we have the bias set to 7, which was user suggestion. And yeah, I'm playing around with it. It sounded great.
Everything all the time.
But yeah, definitely a bit of a bug on this one. Took me a minute.
I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts but the blood stains it's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
BB tubes.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field,
Distort Tube.
swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to
BB
put it
tubes.
down. Air intake, open up your ribcage.
So I like what it's doing to the transformer here, or to the dynamics on the Distort Tube. This feels a little dark to me, a little dull. It feels like the vocal gets kind of pushed in a little bit, but I do like the heft that we're getting off this. Just back up the drive and see if maybe that...
Everything all the time,
over here.
everything all the time.
definitely backing off some of that drive.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains.
Feels like it gives me the vocal back,
It's running out through my cold veins.
but I lose the density and kind of some of the excitement.
Bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field. Swimming
It's got a nice smoothness to it.
feeling like a little kid. Opening the present.
Feels just a little cloudy to me though.
Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
BB is just so clear.
Open up your rib cage. Hey,
No transformer.
see the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field.
We are breaking up a bit here.
Feeling like a little kid. Opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down.
Just lacks a little clarity. Just seems a little dull to me. I like the creaminess of it though. And I do like how it's hitting some of those transients.
Really know why.
Okay,
Clean cuts, but
Back to our
the
flat.
stains.
alright, we're gonna run through them all.
My cold veins.
Top to bottom. I'm not gonna talk while I'm doing this. I'm just gonna switch and go through them. We're gonna go around the horn, and I'm not gonna tell you which one I'm switching to. So please just make sure you're watching the monitor, and we'll add that in there. And I'm gonna add a bonus one into this round, into the top to bottom. I'm gonna add number 2 from round 1, our second selection, the Culture Vulture.
Open up your rib cage. Hey,
So we have the UAD Culture Vulture into the mix now.
heartbeat.
This was my preferred second choice in the round 1 comparison,
Keep breathing.
and we're gonna include it in the round 2 comparison because it's fun, and we're just gonna run it down top to bottom. See how it fits in.
Like a little kid. Opening a present.
Starting to be getting like a Royal Rumble here of distortion plugins. Okay,
Everything all the
starting on
time.
our flat. So again, I'm not gonna talk, so please
Everything all the time.
keep an eye on the screen.
I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts, but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your rib cage. Hey, see the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Everything all the time. Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts, but the blood stains. out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, swimming in the ocean.
All right. So
Feeling like a little kid, opening the
I think my favorites here,
Hey, I got a new thing.
there's still a quality to the BB that and maybe it's just because it's a new flavor, maybe on the flavor of the month, but there is a sonic quality to the BB that I really, really like. And it's something to do with the clarity and the image of it and the dynamics. And obviously the saturation. It's something to do with all of it. Great description. There's just this clarity in here and this depth that is something else to me. So definitely still really loving the BB. I think it sounds great. The Culture Vulture from UAD sounds great as well. The Radiator, for me, I really love. I love how it's sitting here. I love how it's handling the dynamics. Tightens up nicely. Obviously, we're not getting the same kind of heft, but it's got a real firmness to it. The image feels great. I really like that. The diamond sounds great. There's just that smeariness when I'm doing the comparison with the other plugins, and it's a musical smeariness. It's a positive smeariness, but it's what separates BB and the diamond for me. And the dynamics are just a little flatter on the diamond to me, but the saturation is really pleasing on this. So yeah, the BB, the UAD Culture Vulture, the Radiator, I really liked, and I think Phil sounds great, which I wasn't expecting. I think Phil sounds great.
Keep breathing.
It's got a lot of heft, pushing on those dynamics nicely.
Swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid.
It's a little muddier, a little thumpier too, but it's nice. And this P42 is really great too.
Running out through my cold veins.
It's a little thinner though. Kelvin's great, Neold's great. Harmonics and the Distort Tube also all sound really good. But I think the ones that are at the top of the pack for me are the BB, the UAD, the Radiator. I think those would be kind of my first tier. And then, so yeah, BB, UAD, Phil, Radiator. Or no. Sorry, let me try that again. So yeah, I think the top tier for me is the BB, the UAD, and the Radiator. I think those are my three favorites. And then I think Phil is really close. It's just a little... I like the heft, but it's maybe just a little too muddy. But the Phil's right there. And then the Diamond and the P42 sound really great. Yeah, there's something really sonically pleasing about this BB. Certainly without that transformer though, a little closer to all the other ones. But that transformer is a magic button. So round one done. Gentle saturation in the books. So now we're on to round two, which is the distortion round. And not full-on destructo distortion. We're looking for overdrive. I want that spot where it's just kind of breaking up. It's a musical overdrive. I feel like that's really hard to do in the box, and I think that's where you can really hear the kind of the quality of the distortion. I feel like lots of times plugins go from a little bit of breakup to full flatline pretty quickly in the box. So it's a trickier zone, I find. Yeah, so that's what we're aiming for. That's what we aim for in the first one, and that's what we're aiming for here. I'm gonna drop the UAD Culture Vulture out of the competition for the minute. And again, we're starting here with where we started, or where we ended up in round one. So round one drive setting is here, and and then I did work up a transformer-less drive setting as well on the BB. So we will start there, and then we'll go down the list. I'm just gonna do the same thing. Flat mix.
Running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing.
So transformerless, a little more aggressive.
Air intake. Open up your ribcage. Hey.
Back to the transformer in.
Keep breathing. Running through an open field.
So definitely thins out a little bit, gets a little more aggressive. And again, I switched here. We're on the Type A on the Transformer version, and I switched to the Type B here because it just... I'll go to the Type A here. Not that it's harsh by any stretch, but I'm getting even more breakup up top, mid-range. Definitely more aggressive, and I found it hard to find kind of this real richness to this distortion here, the breakup on the Transformer version. Again, there's just this clarity. The image where the vocal's living. And I feel that in both instances. So for the diamonds here, I find the saturation tube 1, when we go to it, when you push it, it gets a little funky, I feel like, and it can really get pretty aggressive pretty quickly, which it's supposed to, but it seems to get a little weird. Back to this diamond.
Open up your ribcage. Hey. See the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field.
And obviously on the Transformer version we're getting more heft. Just a little grittier here. Pleasing, a little grittier. Just gets a little crispy, a little fried. Gets some nice punch and tightens up nicely. And again, nothing harsh. Like, None of these plugins really get harsh, which I think is amazing. Onto the P42. And again here, I stuck with the input drive, input saturation stage as opposed to the output. Again, I just felt like it had more density to me while I was setting it up, and I just enjoyed it more.
But the blood stains is running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid. Open in the present. Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your ribcage.
It's got some nice punch to it too, this one. The P42.
See the way your heart beats. Keep breathing.
We are losing a little bit too much of the dynamics.
All the time, everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan. I don't really know why.
Great gain compensation.
It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone.
So my B setting there is a little too fried.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field.
Yeah, in both these BB instances, there's just a real sense of dynamic, but we're still getting that breakup and that distortion. Just get a little bit more life, a little bit more movement.
Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
I just can't seem to find the middle ground on this.
Hey, see the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field. Swimming in the
So we're on the output transformer now.
feeling like a little kid. Open in the present. Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down.
Maybe a little more life here, but we lose that density. But the top end's really nice on the output.
I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
Well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I should have had it on the output for this one.
The blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
It's just lacking the density.
It's bigger than anyone.
This is a little richer, but we're just getting a little more breakup.
It's better than
Yeah,
opening.
I do like that input, I guess.
Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put
It's
it
denser.
down. Air intake.
Sounds nice though. But the life of this thing is just still great. Okay, let's move on. So the Kelvin, what did I do here on the Kelvin for this? I picked two of these GE32s for this distortion section. Again, it's just what felt best to me. Having 4 different options on both the gain and the drive stage. I mean, to work through them all and get to know them intimately is a lot for this comparison. So, but we'll see how it sounds.
Everything all the time. plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts, but the blood stains is running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than
Just thins out, and again, I can kind of recall from when I was setting this up, I think it was earlier today or yesterday, it's just one of those plugins that I felt like as I was pushing it, it just got to, oh, no AB in the trial mode. That's too bad. It just kind of instantly went from a little bit of drive to a lot of drive really quickly.
open up your ribcage. Hey, see the way your heart beats.
So you have some nice density here.
Running through an open field.
And it's just instantly grainy.
Feeling like a little kid, opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing.
So it just kind of folds down quickly, falls apart quickly on me.
All the time.
And this we're still getting the density, we're getting the dynamics, sorry, but we're also getting the breakup
I'm working on a new plan.
in both versions, with and without the transformer.
I know why. Clean cuts, but the blood
Now that I hear this Kelvin though, and I've tried it a bit, it sure got like I feel like I probably hear this on a lot of records because it's got a real modern sound to me, and it's a super fun plugin.
It's better than anything.
But yeah, it just kind of, there's something immediately when I started playing with it, I was like, oh, this sounds really familiar. So maybe it's on a lot of records at the moment. Onto the Neolds. So for the Neolds, it did pull that voltage sag off. It just got too aggressive trying to drive it.
Keep breathing. Running through an open field. Swimming in the ocean. Feeling like a little kid. Opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing.
So we just get into that rasp real quick.
All the time. Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
It's a nice breakup.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains it's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything.
It's a little too grainy here.
Open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid.
It's close there in the verse.
Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your ribcage.
So it's a little bit of the dynamics, a little bit of the density.
Where your heart beats.
But it's breaking up nicely.
Keep breathing.
Seems like it maybe just gets a little too much here in this section, but
Running through an open field. Swimming in the ocean. Feeling like a little kid.
just get a little grainy.
Opening a present.
Very Neold. And again, the Neold feels like the diamond to me, and then like the vocal kind of just seems to stand up a little bit. We get a little more center focused.
All the time. I'm working on a new plan, I don't really know why.
Yeah, it feels like it's working the mids a little bit more, mid a little harder than the sides. Anyways. Okay. Neold sounds great. Big fill.
It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake, open up your ribcage.
BP.
Hey, see the way your heart beats.
A little bit of rasp.
Keep breathing. Running through an open field.
Sorry.
Swimming in the ocean. Feeling like a little kid. Opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how to put it down. All the time.
I like what it's doing to the dynamics though.
Everything all the
I
time.
like how it's hitting.
I'm working on a new
And
plan.
it seems cleaner, like the bottom end seems cleaner and tighter on this than it did in the gentle comparison.
Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
It's just breaking up too much.
It's better than anything.
It's close though.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
Like how it's hitting, it's just a little too much and it just can't seem to just find a little middle ground in there.
See the way your heart beats.
Back to the BB.
Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little
Nice weight though and heft to it, just like it was in the gentle one. So, Phil sounds good. Just get a little garbled there on the breakup. Hear it on the vocal.
all the time.
Back to the BB.
Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
Radiator.
Cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake. Open up your ribcage. Hey, see the way your heart beats.
No transformer.
Keep breathing. Running through an open field.
Again, I really like the dynamics here. Tightens up on the bottom. We're getting some nice punch on this now.
Opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing. Don't know how
And I really like the top ends and the kind of the upper mids. All of it.
all the time. Everything all the time.
This has a nice presence to it.
I'm working on a new plan.
Actually, I really like that.
I don't really know why.
The vocal sounds great in this.
Clean cuts but the blood stains. running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything.
Just get a little too gritty.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
The Radiator is pretty great. It's just a little too much compared to where we got the BB living, and I can't seem to just dial it back a little bit.
See the way your heart beats. Keep breathing.
Just a little bit too much on the vocal.
Running through an open field.
Feels great though.
Don't know how to put it down.
Okay, onto the harmonics.
All the time. Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything.
So yeah, there's again here a sheen. I feel like there's a bit of a sheen and a clarity to this one.
Swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake.
A little thinner, but there is a really nice clarity to this, and it's actually it feels a little brighter to me than what I'm hearing out of the BB, but there's kind of this similar presence around the vocal that I really like. Clarity around the vocal.
Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean.
No transformer.
Feeling like a little kid, opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. All the time. Everything all the time.
Yeah, there's like a class to this thing. Sheen. Polish.
On a new plan,
Thins out a little bit too much.
but I don't really know why.
I like how it's hitting the snare, but
Cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
feels like we're losing too much body and depth on it.
It's bigger than anyone.
The image feels good in this though.
It's better than anything.
Okay. Okay, onto the Distort Tube from Arturia.
Everything all the time.
So again, we're on the P1.
I'm working on a new plan. All the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why.
Back to the BB.
Clean cuts but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything.
Again, I just feel like as I was saying, I just feel like I couldn't get
Swimming in the ocean,
a middle ground out of this. It just kind of got aggressive.
opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake,
Just definitely a more aggressive distortion.
open up your rib cage. Yeah. See the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean.
It's a little too gritty, a little too grainy.
like a little kid, opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing.
Not really breaking up. It's just kind of gritting up. I mean, it's breaking up, obviously, but just getting a little gritty.
All the time. Everything all the time.
I like how it's hitting, though.
I'm working on a new plan,
It does feel a little darker, a little duller to me.
but I don't really know why.
And yeah, I just can't really find a middle ground for this one that I like. It just feels a little more full destructo, pretty quick.
It's bigger than anyone.
Just too bad. So again, I'm gonna throw our UAD Culture Vulture back into the mix here for the rundown, because it was our number 2 in the first round comparison. So we have 1 and 2. But yeah, I'm gonna do a full rundown. I'm not gonna talk. So please keep your eyes on the screen, and then I'll kind of bounce between the ones that stood out to me, anyways. So here we go.
But I don't really know why.
So flat mix.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. It's better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening the present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. Air intake, open up your ribcage. Hey, see the way your heart beats. Keep breathing. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean, feeling like a little kid, opening a present. Hey, I got a new thing, don't know how to put it down. All the time. Everything all the time. I'm working on a new plan, but I don't really know why. Clean cuts, but the blood stains.
It's bugged.
It's running out through my cold veins. It's bigger than anyone. Better than anything. Running through an open field, swimming in the ocean.
To me here,
All the time.
my choices are the choices from the first one, which is the BB2, the BB Tubes, and the Culture Vulture from UAD.
Working on a new plan,
Those two are really great to me.
but I don't really know why.
After that, I really like the Radiator and the Diamond.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains. It's running out through my cold veins.
Radiator gets a little too heavy, but I do really like the Radiator. I love what it's doing in the vocal on the top end. And the Diamond feels great when we were switching through. I thought the Diamond felt really good too. P42 and the Kelvin just break up a little too quickly. We get into a little bit too much distortion. Both are really pleasing, but I feel like we just lose a little bit too much bottom end. The Neold's pretty interesting. I feel like Right in there with the P42 and the Kelvin. The fill's great too. Actually, the fill's really nice.
Everything all the time.
I really like the heft on it. It's definitely got some nice bottom end. And that bottom end seems a little cleaner than when we were in the gentle mode.
Clean cuts, but the blood stains.
The Neold's almost there. It feels like it loses some... It's funny, I think I said that it had some mid information in the gentle one. It feels like it loses that. I feel like it's going a little bit away from me. Yeah, this BB's just got life to it. It's got a vibe. Alright, well, round 2 done. Overdrive round. So out of the overdrive round, yeah, I think the BB still wins for me, and the Harmonic Culture from UAD is really great. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with those picks from the first round. They sound great here. And then after that, I think the Radiator, Fill, and Diamond were really good, really interesting to me. That'd be kind of maybe my next tier, and then below that would be the P42 Kelvin and Neold, and then I think the Harmonics and the Distortion Tube just not quite there for this purpose. And again, this is a completely subjective comparison. So we're working to what my tastes are and what I enjoy hearing out of these plugins. Certainly, you can put these things into parallel and mess around with the filters and EQ, and you can maybe get there. But just as far as just straight up pushing into saturation and distortion, I think overall the BB is the thing. I'm really loving it. There's like a sonic quality to it that I really enjoy. And the UAD Culture Vulture sounds great. And the Radiator really impressed me as well, which is interesting because the Decapitator really impressed me in the first round, how much it stuck in there. So yeah, way to go, Sound Toys. I can't wait for them to drop some new plugins. Please drop some new plugins, Sound Toys. It's been too long. But yeah, the P42 is really interesting and the Kelvin's really fun. Both of those are really creative plugins, and I look forward to trying to play with them some more. I think the P42 demo is great, 40 days, and the Kelvin one, not so great of a trial, which is too bad. Hopefully they look at changing that. But yeah, I think in both the gentle and in the distortion round, the BB and the Harmonic Culture Vulture, for me, Diamond Saturators right there, Radiator right there, the Fill right there as well. So really interesting. I'm curious to see what everybody thinks and how everybody feels about this. Some of these plugins I'm just learning for the first time. I'm just getting comfortable. If I miss something, please let me know. Or if there's a tip or a trick with using the plugin or a setting that you really like, please let me know. I'd love to know. I'd love to hear it. And if I did miss something, this is a pretty big comparison. It's bound to happen. I'm definitely a human being. So if I did miss something, please let me know. And please grant me some grace when you do let me know as well. That would be awesome and appreciated. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I love playing with saturation and distortion. It's by far my favorite tool, and I think a lot of people's favorite tool right now with the amount of saturation and distortion boxes that are coming out. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for the comparison. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I look forward to everybody's thoughts and comments on this. And if you are enjoying the content, you're catching this on YouTube, you're enjoying the content, please think about hitting the subscribe and keep your notifications turned on. And yeah, drop me a comment or a like. That'd be awesome. So thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Have a great night.